Hi everybody, this is Chandresh Kachi. I'm a career growth coach. Uh, I have decided to prepare some of the book summaries which will help us to reduce our reading time if you are busy and you cannot read it. This book summary will give some idea about what is the summary of the book, and probably you can save your time. Today I am going to talk to you about the book summary, which is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and that is written by Stephen Covey. He is one of my favorite authors. He has written many wonderful books, and this is one of them. Even after that, he has written the 8th Habit of Highly Effective People also, which is a full volume. So today we'll talk about this book. It gives a very strong message. There are two types of character of a person. Like one is a character ethics, which is with your basic characteristic of a person, and the other one is a personality ethics, where you can see things from outside, where you can not see anything internally, you can see the external area. Basically, character ethics is a root of a person which cannot see it outside, which is a character building, basically, which is more important. While personality ethics is something which is basically a fake. Means you can fake your character personality. It may not match with your character building. So he's talking about building up a character, and if you build up a character very well, then you don't have to look back, because your roots, your foundations are strong. So today the book which I am going to talk to you about is going to talk about the character ethics. Okay. I love this book since this simple rules, the way it's been explained, the way it has been narrated in the books, is such a wonderful that you can easily adopt them. Number one. Number two, you can remember all the 7 habits and start working on those habits, and it really is useful in your actual career. It is very good for a growth building, because I use these books in my own career, and I really was benefited very well. So let's go back and start talking about the 7 habits of highly effective people. I'll just summarize the main things. Like unfortunately, what happens is people normally concentrate more on a personality ethics rather than the character ethics. But believe me, if you work on these principles, 7 things, and if you start working on it, it will automatically change your personality, and you will see a big change on your own performance and the way you are growing in the wherever you are working, whether it's a business or it's a company, wherever you are working. We'll see it's very useful. I'll talk about that, and it will mainly focus on the character building. The first habit is be proactive. Means we have a circle of concerns and we have a circle of influence. Like there are certain things which is concerns, like weather, political instability, economics, all these natural calamities and all. These are all the circle of concerns which are not in our control. But there are certain things which are in our control, like influence, like circle of influence, which we call it as our attitude, our knowledge earning, our reading habits, our actions, our reactions, our hobbies and all. These are all in our control. So the circle of influence, we should always be proactive, like anything what you do, you need to make sure you act before the reaction. You don't be reactive, you be a proactive in your life. So there can be two type of people. One is the proactive people, and another reactive people. Reactive people always react against what happens to them. They don't proact, so they don't take a control over the life and the results and all. So reactive people, they keep on blaming everybody, others, while proactive people, they don't blame. They focus on what is there in their control rather than focusing on what is not in their control. There are two types of people. One is people who keep on blaming others for their failures, while there are other people who will see what should be done to be more proactive and avoid the failures. Habit number 2 is begin with the end in mind. Means unless you see where you want to go, you can never reach the destination. Even if you know that your destination is 5 kilometers away from here or 10 kilometers away from you, but then unless you know the direction, whatever you do, you will never reach the destination, because deciding the direction or the goal is very, very important. Everything is created twice in this world. One is in mind and another thing is in outside world. So we must prepare for our end in our mind. So it's all about the goal setting. You have to set the goal and start working towards that goal. Habit number 3, put first thing first. Means whatever you do, you need to have a priority there. Suppose you got 10 tasks, you have a to-do list. Now this to-do list is very good, but then unless you got a priority in that, you may not attend those priority items and start working on some non-priority items, which is basically a failure. So this is very important. Whenever you do something, you need to be very careful. You need to decide that you got 20 items, 10 items, 15 items, you work on the priority. So you need to make sure that you work on things which has to be done first, and you don't work on those things which can manage. You can manage to put it on the backside, and that is why it's very important. You need to have a time management in place. You need to work on urgent and important items. This is the time management square is there, which we will subsequently talk about the time management itself. It is given in this book also, very nicely explained. But then if you start talking about this video will be very, very big, which I don't want. The fourth habit is think win-win. There are different types of business scenario. One is you can say about 6 types of business scenario. One is a lose-win, another is win-lose. I lose, you win, or I win and you lose. There is one type of 2 types of business scenarios. There is a business where one man wins, another man loses, and vice versa. Then lose. There is another. Where both of them are losers. Then the next one is only win. There is no only the person who is there making the deal. One man only wins, the other man is nothing. Like he just stay there. There is one more which is called no deal. Means there is no deal is happening. So it's standstill. But there is one more which is powerful business scenario, which is win-win. You should always be happy where you win and the person with whom you are dealing is also a winner. So it is a very, very ideal situation. If you have a win-win situation, you never look back. You have a lot of successes. These all things can be elaborated very much, but then the video becomes very long. If video becomes very long, then probably you don't listen, you don't see it. So I would like to just give you a major idea about that. Habit number 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. See, a lot of problems are not getting solved because whenever we start talking and communicating with the people, what happens is we generally start communicating with the people with how, when he says something, we start thinking how to reply him rather than we listen him carefully and try to understand his point of view. So a lot of communications fails, a lot of problems are not getting solved because most of the time the communication is one way, like we don't try to listen him, we try to put our point forward and try to tell him, okay, maybe you're right, but then this is what. So, and this is happening every day, not in the professional life, even in personal lives. We all should be ready to listen the person. So it's very important that seek first to understood means understand, like try to understand first the person's opinion or his point of view, and then you only put yourself forward and make him to understand, like to be understood by him. So it's very, very important. Empathetic listening is very essential to understand other points of view, because many times we don't do active listening, we do the passive listening, and then we are just casual in listening, but we are very prompt in reacting or answering or replying. Many times you must have observed that when somebody talks to you, you start thinking about what you need to respond rather than thinking at what he is trying to say. You try to understand that. So it's very, very critical. A lot of successful leaders are very good listeners, and unless you are a very good listener, you cannot sort out a lot of problems. The habit number 6 is synergy. Means you need to create a synergy by which you don't take a just decision by yourself. Suppose you are in a family or you are in a organization, you try to involve as many people as you can. Like you need to look at the level of the people you're involving, but even sometimes you get smart ideas from even the junior people, whom you never think that they can be useful. So synergy is very, very important. That habit sometimes makes 1 plus 1 11 rather than 1 plus 1 2, and sometimes you will be surprised, 1 plus 1 becomes 100, because when more than 2 opinion takes place, 3 opinion, 4 opinion, it will try to go towards the perfection. Like you may get the best decision. Maybe you may not. You may get 4 suggestions, and you have to pick up the best. But if you're alone and if you're doing, by single-handedly, then what happens is that many times you don't get a lot of options, because your mind is working in one direction. But there are other people around, they may be looking at the different aspects, and sometimes they'll be wonderful. It makes miracles. So it's very, very important. All these habits I can talk individually, not an issue. I'll explain it. If you want to understand more on those things, please let me know. So I'll do that in my next videos. I can talk to one. The last one is the sharpen the saw. It's very, very important, because many times what happens that because we are doing something all the time, we think that this is the best way to do it. And a very simple and famous example is, if you are trying to cut the trees using the same saw which is not sharpened, then your productivity goes down. You put a lot of efforts, but you end up cutting less and less woods, trees. This is one example about the physical work, but then even you mentally, you need to sharpen your saw. Like you need to work specifically. I'll tell you, you need to work on your physical health. You need to work on your spiritual health. You need to work on cognitive health, and you have to work on your social health. This 4 health is very important. You need to keep on working on this area. You need to keep on sharpening the saw. Sharpening the saw means you need to basically work on those areas to strengthen your knowledge, or your strength in those areas. So whatever way it's going to help you, you have to work on that. Because if you stop like in today's world, if you stop reading the new way of working on the business and all, we all be staying 20, 30, 40 years back, and then we will never grow. So to grow with the time, many times you have to keep on sharpening your, so whatever you have done so many years back, sometimes they are useless and you need to start working on those. So this is nothing but keeping yourself updated. So this is become a bit longer, but then I wanted to make it a bit shorter. This book is really a guideline for career success, and it shows all the main characteristics of successful leader in the industry. Let me tell you, I have used this technique many times. The best thing is, you, as soon as you go through this, you write it down somewhere, or if you find a book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or you can find a audio book. You go through it, and what I used to do, I had an audio book, so I used to put it in my car, and every day I used to listen, whenever I travel, and really, everything was imprinted. And then what I used to do is, I used to use this techniques with my subordinates. As soon as you start using the techniques, you start teaching it, you become more stronger and stronger. So you're sharpening your show. I'm not very comfortable because the video has become a bit longer. I wanted to make it below 10 minutes, but then sometimes the stuff is so good, then you cannot cut the corners. So my only request is, I'll keep on posting such videos. Especially this month, I have planned to put a lot of book summaries, so that we can learn other points of view. Like a lot of good authors are there, they have a lot of knowledge, so we can save a lot of time. If you can read the whole book of 300 page in 20 minutes, it's not a bad deal. So my only request is to keep me encouraged, and keep me pushing it. The pressure will come back to me if you start demanding more and more on that, and I'll be very happy if you circulate to your friends and whomever you think will be benefited. It will be a great thing. So thank you very much for the same, and please subscribe my channel, Chandresh Kachi. I'll start putting a lot of videos on that, and probably they'll be useful. Please, you can give a comment and keep on giving me suggestions. Yes, I know the video qualities and all require a lot of improvement, but that will happen as soon as I start putting more and more videos. Thank you very much. Thanks.